This is About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Sit back and enjoy.
Greetings, fam. Today I'm going to talk about transitioning from a 9 to 5 worker to an entrepreneur. And I want to give a shout out to one of my staunch supporters, Daryl Lee, for asking for this particular topic. Now, this is something I've covered in different videos, but it's one of those issues, especially as a budding entrepreneur, that I'll probably always address maybe at least once a month. And that's making that transition from the 9 to 5 worker to the entrepreneur. Because, see, one thing with 9 to 5, you know your job is there. And as long as you understand office politics and they're making enough money, your job will be there. You know, you can plan everything around that paycheck. You can budget everything. You know, hey, I'm going to make this much on this day. I know I can put it towards this bill. I can put it towards my mortgage. I can put it something on this next paycheck to my car note. You can work around that. And plus, it's also, you know, you don't have to worry as much. In most cases, even if you're a manager, you don't have to worry about customers. You don't have to worry about advertising. There's a lot of stuff taken care of. You know, whether it's, retail or, office work, and especially office work. As someone who's worked office work, that's almost free money sometimes because, very few people going to do 8 hours of actual work. The average office you might do, quite frankly, the total aggregate amount of time that you might actually work in an office job, do some actual work, for the average person in an office might be 5 hours. A lot of times you might be shooting a breeze, talking some trash on the internet, listening to this video, a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, you're still doing some stuff. So, and, you could be making a good amount of money, but, you got that entrepreneurial itch. One of the things in transitioning is just changing the mindset. Because one of the main mindsets you have is like, oh yeah, my needs are taken care of as long as I do X, Y, and Z, a minimum. But see, an entrepreneur got to hustle a bit more. You can't be working just some 5 hours unless you got the right thing. Shoot, you pretty much don't want most cases you're going to be on all day, or you got to work extra hours because there's a lot of little stuff. All of a sudden, you don't have to worry about advertising or something or getting clients when you're at the 9 to 5. Somebody else does that. Heck, it could even be your job to do that. But it's different when all of a sudden you go from wearing just one hat to wearing like 15 hats as an entrepreneur. So making that transition, the biggest thing is, I've talked about savings before. I talked about managing your time. The biggest transition is really just the mindset. That's the biggest transition from the 9 to 5 worker to the entrepreneur. The mindset. I mean, yeah, you got other stuff. You got to worry about money a bit more. You had a routine in the morning, but you got to just change the mindset from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. Because the entrepreneurial mindset, you got to go out there. You can't just sit back. You can't really relax most of the time. That might come after your business has been up and running and you've able to hire people years later. But when you starting out, you got to deal with, you have to do a lot. You got to wear a lot of hats. So one, you got to get out that employee mindset. Two, you got to think in terms of, all right, I'm totally responsible for whether or not I eat. Because we know, like I said, you want some job, you working for somebody. In most cases, you're going to get some money, unless you're in like sales or something. See, that's a little bit different with sales. But most people, 9 to 5, you just there a certain amount of time, you leave. You get there, you leave, you take a half an hour to really get started to work. You wind down for about a half an hour. You know, you take, that extra long lunch or something. But, it's totally different, depending on what you're doing. So that mindset, you got to be like, all right, I got to be thinking differently. Also, and there's so many little things. Like I said, I covered them in different videos, but, you also got to be self-disciplined. You got to be self-disciplined with your money. You got to be self-disciplined with your time. Because all of a sudden, time management becomes more important when you're working for yourself. There's no boss looking over your shoulder to push you along, egg you along, and say to you, hey, you need to be doing this. Or, also a good thing with it, which I really like. There's no boss to like you in the middle of something and have you do something else. Also, too, you don't have to deal with office politics. But you do have to be 100% responsible for how you make your money. You have to be the one. So that transition is thinking differently. And I've talked about like the process. Now, just to go over a little bit of that process, just, set a certain amount of time when you work on your business. If you got that 9-to-5 job, you come home maybe from 7 to 10, work on your business and set a certain time, maybe breaks and everything. You put yourself on a schedule, right? Put yourself on a schedule. That way, when you finally make that break, you've developed the discipline to be scheduled with your stuff. But it's more important than having some boss hanging over your head and telling you this or that. Because one thing about dealing with a boss or a manager or something like that, to some extent, you get used to dealing with how they do things. Even if whether or not, because you get some bosses, depending on who they are, you figure out, all right, I know how I can work around this. Basically, you feel like you figure out how to get over on them. Or you figure out which boss is going to really let you boss them. It's totally different as an entrepreneur. You don't have that. And sometimes too, when you were 9-to-5 on a 9-to-5 job, you're in a position where you can pass the buck easier. You can have somebody else do something you're supposed to be doing. Especially if you're a manager or something, there's something you don't really feel like doing. You find somebody else to do it. I can't do that as an entrepreneur. You got to do it yourself. So it's like you all the way around. You got to change that mindset first. You got to develop discipline. Got to develop maybe a little aggression, depending on where you work. Most people work on jobs. Like I say, most people work on jobs. They don't have to worry about how the money's coming in. And they're not sales jobs. And even people work retail. There's a whole lot of people work some type of retail, or they work in a restaurant or something. They don't have to worry about going out to get money. In most cases, people coming to them. Especially in something like retail. Like most people who work retail, they could tell you they be trying to do something and they got customers coming up to them. But it's a different thing with being an entrepreneur. Like I'm continuously saying, shoot, you gotta be disciplined. You gotta go out there and get stuff. You gotta hustle. So making that transition, the main thing is to change how you think. And that can start even while you're on the 9-to-5. That can start. Part of it is, doing your business on the side when you setting aside something. But also, even while you're on the 9-to-5, just change how you interact. Like one thing I would do, I wouldn't see myself as an employee. I would see myself as someone giving service, like it was a business. Like I'm an independent contractor, and I'm just like, nah, I'm more like a mercenary. Yeah, see, that was one problem I had whenever I worked in any place. I never became a part of the group. Yeah, I was friendly and everything, but I always saw it like, oh, I just have a mercenary presence here. They paying me to do something. And I looked at it as a business. See, that's another thing. Look at it even on a 9 to 5, look at it the same way you would look at your business. No matter what whether you office, you can. It's easy to do that in retail. But if it's your office or whatever project is like, it's yours. Take ownership of stuff. Like as if it's your business, it's your baby. So then when you are ready to make that move to be an entrepreneur, you already have it in your spirit, in your behavior patterns to just take over and just do on your own. You know? So that was a brief thing. And check out anything else where I have 9 to 5 in the title. Because like I said, I've addressed a lot of this stuff in different videos. So anyway, right? That's it for today. Let's go make that money.